And welcome to day 5 of my free motion quilting challenge that we're doing here in the month of December. Today is going to be a very fun design that we're going to be doing for learning free motion. I'm excited to show you guys how to do it. So if you have not seen my previous videos, there will be a link in the description box to the playlist that will host all of these videos for this challenge in it. In total, we're going to be doing 16 designs. We did 5 designs this week. We'll do 5 designs next week. And then the final week, we will have 6 designs included in that week. So it's jam-packed. We're doing a design every day almost, and it's a lot of fun. And I hope you join us for the rest of this challenge. Let me show you the designs that we've done so far this week before we jump into today's design, just in case you missed it. So the first day, we did very simple curved lines. It's a really great way to introduce yourself into free motion quilting, okay? Then we did a classic filler called Pebbles. So we did the Pebbles free motion quilting design. It's very cool texture. You can use it on all kinds of applications. Then we learned our boxy meander design. That one's very fun, a personal favorite of mine. Lots and lots of fun. Again, a really great beginner design. And then our last one that we did was our Christmas tree free motion quilting. That one is really cute. Very festive, perfect for this time of year. But most of the designs that we're going to be learning during this challenge are not Christmas specific, okay? So they can be used for all kinds of designs. Today, our next square that we're going to fill up is, I'm going to move on down to my next row, and we're going to work on this light blue color. And the design that we're going to do today is just a very simple loop. Now, this can be done in a few different ways, which I will show you on paper. So let's go ahead and point the camera down, and I will get started with our tutorial, all right? I like to show you how to do it on paper first because it's good to practice on paper, and it's a little bit easier to visualize what we're going to be doing if we have it on paper first. What you will need for this design specifically, the way that I'm going to show you, is you'll obviously need your practice quilt or a little quilt sandwich, whatever you're going to be practicing on. I would recommend using a marking pen. You could also use a Hero marker. If you don't want to actually mark on your quilt. Hero markers create kind of like a crease, but I'm going to use a pen because it's just going to be easier for you guys to see on camera. And then you will need some kind of straight edge. So I'm just going to be using my long ruler to have a nice straight line for drawing. And we're going to be drawing straight lines. So let's start that on our paper. And I'm actually going to have my lines pretty close together. I want it to be a fairly small section. So I'm going to do 2-inch increments, and I'm just going to draw 2-inch wide lines here. And this is how you'll do it on your quilt as well. So there are our 2-inch sections. So this is another one that I recommend to actually draw on paper because it just helps you get that muscle memory of how you want your loops to be, how big you want the loops to be, and all of that, okay? So we're gonna start up here in this first section, and I'm just gonna start at the line that I drew, and my loop is going to end at the very top of the page. So we're just gonna start down here, and I'm gonna come up, loop, whoop, loop, and then come back down. All right, so that's our first one. Basically what you want to do is you want this angle right here of the loop to match this angle on this side, okay? So just keep that in mind as you're drawing your line back down. And now we're just going to continue this. So you want to go back up, and another loop, go back up, and another loop. And it's best if you have your loops be about the same size, and you can kind of play around with what size you want your loop to be. So if you want a smaller loop or a bigger loop, that's totally up to you. What looks good to your eye, okay? And we're just going to go nice and slow. You don't want to be herky-jerky when you're sewing these because you don't want to have skip stitches or kind of have like a random little stitch that kind of does like a little triangle action. If you ever tried free motion quilting, you know what I'm talking about. But it's just going to be really fluid, smooth movements as you go. All right, so that's what that looks like. Pretty self-explanatory, right? So that's your kind of your first option. Now, if you want to try something a little different, maybe something that's maybe a little more next level, let's try that down here on the second one. So we're going to be implementing the same idea, but we're going to have a loop at the top, and we're also going to be doing a loop in this area. Okay, so again, we're going to start down here. And you're going to draw your loop up, and then you're going to come back down and do another loop, and then go up and make a loop, and then down and make a loop. And you're just going to keep repeating that process, trying to have your loops about the same distance apart. Like that. Now, if you want to, you can draw more lines with your marking pen on your quilt. That will kind of help guide you a little bit. So, like, you could draw another line right here. And then do another line kind of in the distance apart you want your loops to be, like that. So then when you're coming down, you know you want your loop to start at this line and then come back up and be between the two lines, and then come back down and be at that other line that you drew. You can do all kinds of guidelines to help you stay at the same distance apart if that's what you want to do. So for mine, for what this looks like, we have our 2-inch section going horizontal, and then between my two pieces, that's a little under 1.5 inches. So you could do it here. Let's do another line down here. And I'm going to mark some more lines that are 1.5 inches apart, okay? So I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to come up so I'm in between the edge of the paper and my first line. That's where my first loop will go. First loop will be right here. Bottom loop will be here. Next loop will be between the two lines, and so on, okay? So we're just going to again start going up. It's our first loop. Come back down, loop, back up between the lines, loop, back down, and so on. So that can really help you keep the distance between your loops even if you want to do that extra guideline. And then the more you practice this, the less you'll have to do those extra guidelines. This is also a really great design for borders because it looks very cool in a border. So that's what that one looks like. And then when you're done, if you use a pen like this, the Mark B gun, this is water soluble ink. So you would just get the guidelines wet that you had marked, and then they'll disappear. And then you'll just be left with these beautiful quilted loop designs. And doesn't that look so fancy? I mean, for lack of a better word, it looks fancy, right? But it's super, super easy. You just got to learn the motion of the going up and down and up and down. So that's kind of the second option, but this is a really great starting point. That first one that we did, this is a really great starting point. But I'm gonna go ahead and do this one since I have done this quilting before several times. So first we're going to mark the quilt, okay? And I'll show you how I'm doing that. And then we will start doing this quilting design, and let's have some fun, all right? All right, I have my square that I'm going to be doing this on. You could do this on any size quilt. You could do this on an entire quilt. It could be an edge-to-edge design. You would just need to draw your guidelines all the way across. Or if you're just doing it in a border, you could use the border as the as the top and bottom guidelines. I'm gonna go ahead and mark mine. So my square is 15 inches. So I'm actually gonna have my lines 2.5 inches apart, okay? So I'm gonna use just this seam as my top guideline, and then I'm gonna mark a line 2.5 inches below that. See that? And then I'm just going to mark my lines 2.5 inches apart, all the way down the block. All right, and then I'll use the bottom seam as another guideline, so I don't need to draw that one on. So that's what my block looks like, okay? And these are my guidelines, and I'm just gonna be able to do my loop design on there, okay? So let's go over to the sewing machine, and I will show you how to actually quilt this. Welcome to my sewing machine. So we are going to I'm just going to start in the top row and work my way down. Like before, we're going to take it nice and slow, okay? We don't have to rush through it because you really want it to look good, right? You want those loops to be really nice and fluid. And again, we try to make the actual loop about the same size. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? It's okay if they're not perfectly the same size, but me personally, I like them to look about the same size. So I start my stitches just in the ditch. So I just stitch forward a couple, stitch back, and then those stitches are anchored. All right. And now I'm just gonna start right on my first line right here, and we're just gonna lead into our loop. When you're doing free motion, you wanna use your hands as a frame. So you put your hands on either side of your needle, and this is gonna help kind of keep your mind focused on that little area. And it also helps you're kind of holding that fabric flat, so it's not kind of bunching up like this. You wanna hold it nice and flat, and that will help your stitches be nice and smooth and you not to get any weird lumps or creases in your fabric when you're quilting. So let's go for it, okay? I'm gonna come back down and do the bottom loop, and then I just come back up. And I want to say something actually. I don't think I've ever talked about this before in a free motion quilting video, but when you are moving the fabric underneath the needle, your hands should not be getting fatigued. Your hands should not be tired. You should not be trying to move the fabric just with the muscles in your hands. You're gonna get real tired. You're gonna get carpal tunnel issues. You do not want to do that. This is why I say that free motion quilting is kind of like a workout, because you should be feeling it up through your shoulders and your biceps more than your hands, okay? So you're really using your whole upper body to move the fabric. So that's a huge tip. I don't think I've ever actually mentioned that before, but if you can kind of keep that in mind, because I know sometimes people are just kind of like, they're only focusing on their hands moving, but you really want to be using your whole arm, and that really helps with cutting down on any kind of fatigue in your wrists and your hands, okay? So let's keep going, still nice and slow. I just lead out into my batting. So there is our first row. Pretty cute, huh? It adds a cool texture. Imagine this in a solid border. So if you used just a solid for a quilt to make it a little bit bigger, or just to kind of frame out your quilt, then what if you did this in the border instead of just kind of leaving it, or maybe just doing like a straight line or whatever? Wouldn't this look so cool in that border? Very pretty, right? Let's do another one. So again, I'm just going to come down to the lower guideline, do my anchor stitches, and now I am ready to lead in. And now that top row is gonna kind of be my guide. So I'm just going to kind of use this kind of like a pantograph, right? For like long armors, they use a pantograph to do edge to edge designs. We're just going to kind of use this, and I'm gonna have my loop. I'm gonna try to have it be lined up with the top one, okay? So we're going up, around and down, and up and down, and we're just gonna continue that all the way across. Let's see how it looks after we have 2 rows done, right? For this design in particular, if you feel like you need to adjust, I would wait till after you've done a loop, do the full loop, and then stop as you're coming down or as you're going up. Don't stop mid-loop, because then it's just really hard to keep the loop looking nice and round if you stop and start in it. All right, there's our second row. Here, I'll show it so you can see both. See, doesn't it look neat? How cool would this look on an entire quilt? It makes a really beautiful texture. Looks very lovely. So we're just gonna keep repeating that process of doing our little anchor stitches in the seam, and then we're just going to go up into the loop, coming back down, and trying to keep our loops kind of in line with each other, okay? If this is your first time doing this, I would definitely recommend also doing the vertical guidelines, just because that'll help you keep your loops all in the same spot. And then you get to kind of decide how far apart you want the loops to be, right? So if you want it to be really close together, then you can do that, and it'll be very tight, kind of like candy. I don't remember what kind of candy it is, but there's this really pretty kind of Christmas candy. It's like mints, but it's like a super tightly wound candy. I'm not thinking of the word that I'm trying to think of, but I think some of you will know what I mean. Or you can have them be farther spaced apart, kind of like mine are, where it's kind of a all over design. So there's so many different ways to do this particular design, but this is a really fun one, and I think a really good staple to have in your free motion quilting toolkit. So I am just gonna continue quilting, and then we will check it out once it's all done.
can do it, we can do it. When we end deciding games, and we don't pull them both ways.
Okay, we finished it, or I finished it. Look how cool that looks. It is gorgeous. Let's bring it over to the table actually. The lighting's kind of weird over here. There it is. Look how beautiful this is. Isn't that lovely? It's so pretty. Such a versatile design. I'm in love with it. Honestly, I just really love this design. I haven't done this in a while, so this was fun to do it again. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. This was a fun one, and I hope you try this. It is a great beginner quilting design, and look how cool it looks with the curved lines. I think it looks really cool with that, actually. Very nice. And then once I have this quilt completely done, we'll have other quilting designs that we're going to use marking on. So when I'm completely done with this quilt and I bind it and everything, I'm going to wash it, and then these lines will be gone. Beautiful. So what do you think? Are you going to give this quilting design a try? I hope you do. It's so fun. I had a lot of fun doing this one. I know I'm saying that like after every single one, but I really am just having a lot of fun doing these quilting designs with you guys and kind of sharing my little tips and tricks and things that I figured out as I've done this for many years now. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions. If you have any specific free motion designs you would like me to do, let me know in the comments, and maybe I could include that in our challenge. I do have a bunch planned, but if there's one that several people want to learn, then maybe I could switch one out for that or something. But anywho, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, but thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. I'd love for you to be subscribed, and hit the little notification bell so you're notified when these videos are coming out, because they're gonna keep on coming for the rest of December. Well, until the week of Christmas, then I'm off for a couple of weeks. But yeah, all right. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Have a beautiful rest of December if I don't see you again. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. A very Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.